are they going to get the support from the minority? Because, again, one would say that it's the whole House that takes the decision on all these things. And how are they?
In fact, when it comes to some of these issues, Honorable Haruna Iddrisu has been speaking a lot about what he believes Parliament has not been doing. He has been speaking about what he believes Parliament approving loans and taking part of the blame in terms of how the economy is faring. Honorable, what are your big expectations for today's big day?
This media review of the budget and economic policy of the government of Ghana will produce the same undesirable, disappointing outcome. This media review cannot end Ghana's unsustainable debt. This media review cannot end the escalating prices of goods and services in Ghana. This media review cannot end the frustration of the private sector with the cost of doing business in Ghana. But this media review should be able to reintroduce road tolls. You remember we told them that they will come back to it.
Is that what you are picking up, that they are going to do that? Because the impression we got was that...
If they are a smart government, they have come under the National Road Authority Bill, kind of smuggled it in as a policy without apologizing to Ghanaians that they now believe that road toll is worthwhile. It has always been worthwhile. And for major private sector investment, you need that to spare people to want to invest in that particular sector. I expect them, if they are a smart government, to do away with Gov't levy and to do away with E-levy, because E-levy too has become a nuisance tax. You projected that you would earn 6.9 billion in 2021, so 6.9 billion multiplied by 3 years, we should have been out of the woods. They ultimately have ended with just about 890 to 1 billion Ghana cedis. So the projections, they got it very, very wrong. We still think that a paperless, cashless economy is desirable, and we warned and cautioned against it. You remember at the time we held them on for 6 months. I always said that if the Ghanaian public had joined us, you probably would have had the kind of situation that happened in Kenya. But because we were able to hold government, the public still felt that had faith and trust in the legislature. Now, on unsustainable debt, I think that parliaments must share the blame, because we are in this deep hole and steep of superior mismanagement of the economy. And we are, as you are aware, from my sources, the government of Ghana cannot borrow non-concessionary beyond $250 million into 2025, and probably not beyond $500 million into 2026. It's only 2027 that it may look good. All right.
On the bit about the revenue as well, and again, I would say that you are a possible government in waiting. Revenue, despite hitting our year target, is still under pressure. Would you advise your minister, if you went to do away with these tax lines, because of the fact that, yes, people are going through hardship, but how do you deal with the revenue challenge when revenue is still not doing well? You need to raise more revenue to pay your debts, ensure that you are committed in reducing the situation.
An alternative to expanded improved revenue is to cut expenditure and to discipline and allow for prudence and optimal utilization of your resources. There's too much waste in this country, too much leakages, embezzlement, misappropriation, corruption, are all leakages of revenue. If we control all that, I've always said that the day Ghana will behave right at the port, we don't need to be worrying citizens with taxes. All the taxes are at the port. Let's police the port properly, install CCTV cameras at the port, do away with this national security clearance of goods at the port. What business do they have there, apart from fighting crime and other issues? But you get many goods cleared in the name of the presidency, cleared in the name of national security. That's still unintended leakages and loot of the state coffers. Thank you.
But just a quick one as well. We also get from that the minister might seek to scale down on expenditure. From the minority side, together with your members, are you willing to support them in terms of ensuring that there is prudence in expenditure going forward? Because of what we've had this country, our election-related curse, and we are here because of what happens 2 months, 3 months to elections.
Election-related curse. John Mahama as president in 2016 behaved very, very well, and you have the statistics and data available to you. We didn't offend the rules, including Bank of Ghana. Look at how much money they've had from quantitative easing and then printing out even against some of their own banking rules and laws. And prudence we need. But this government, what excuse do they have? I mean, you have Bank of Ghana supporting you. Excellency Mahama did not go outside the threshold of what the Bank of Ghana Act and the IMF required him. You remember I was in Washington with you, so I'm familiar with the IMF. We went gasping for air. They came gasping towards the mortuary.
So, you see one interesting thing, that it appears that the political commentary or the political debate has started already.
Yeah.
When you engage the minority side, you get them trying to push the argument that they believe that this government hasn't done well, things are worse, and the political twist to every answer that we are seeking from these members of parliament. And again, on the bit of the concerns that we thought that they were going to boycott, from what he's told us, well, all other things being equal, they are not going to boycott parliament. Let's see what happens in terms of as the time goes on. But again, getting back into what we should be expecting as we're talking about this. So we gather that the minister would try to scale back on expenditure for the year. And for me, I would want to scrutinize or be looking at what they'll be doing, because, again, even if it's not election-related spending, there are other projects that are ongoing. Are they all captured in the budget and approved by the House? And that will be a biggest test of the finance minister in terms of how they're trying to scale back lending and still ensure that those projects that have not been completed are indeed completed on time.
Definitely.
We're also hearing that he wants to expand the economy by supporting SMEs, because he believes that that might be one of the best avenues to aid in the growth of the economy by giving them the required financial support to grow the economy. So we'll be seeing some policy measures in terms of how to support the SMEs to grow the economy going forward. And that's something we're also going to hear. Also on the fact that, currently they are in negotiations with the bilateral creditors in terms of the external and then the commercial bilateral creditors, and even the bilateral creditors as well. So he will be giving us some update in terms of how far they've gotten with respect to all these engagement. The IMF program, I think that if you engaged the minority some time ago, they were raising concerns about even the IMF agreement itself being brought to the House for it to be scrutinized. Is he going to update us? We're going to get some update in terms of the fund program, these agreements, and how they are hoping to grow the economy in these challenging times. There were rumors about some revision of taxes. Kweku, we don't know, because as I said, even though government has been able to hit the half-year target, there is still room for improving revenue. So we don't know whether that is something that government will want to go in terms of scrapping some levies and taxes.
The big challenge, is going into election, falling for the pressure from the public, and then backing
already
down on
the organized labor, already
exactly.
they are trying to demand their pound of flesh in terms of what they deserve already. And some might say, but Haruna thinks otherwise. There are some who have argued that it is not always a revenue situation. It is rather scaling back or cutting down on expenditure. So if you're not raising more revenue, what do? You cut down on expenditure to ensure that you manage it. There are some who also of the school of thought that, something, let's raise more revenue and we can meet our financing obligations. So it's a quite interesting debate in terms of what can be done to deal with that situation. You need to use this media review of estimate to send signal to your development partners, the IMF, and also those creditors that you are committed to fiscal prudence. So we will be seeing to see whether he can indeed implement all those things he's been talking about in terms of, one, cutting down on expenditure in an election year, and also ensuring that these projects are finished on time going into election. Kweku.